You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell.
And your co-host, Keelan Harvey.
Your local mortgage experts right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, June 16th show. It's a great day to talk money, and that's what the show is all about. How to make money, save money, and have a better quality of life for you and your family. If you're hearing our show at a different time, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but we're here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that we have on the show today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And in studio right now, we have Britt Wibmer with Wibmer Real Estate Group at Avenue Property. And we're talking about, has the bubble burst? And a little bit about Britt. Well, Britt, thanks for coming in today.
Well, thanks for having me. This is very exciting.
And a little bit about Britt. Britt is the principal broker at Britt Wibmer Real Estate Group with Avenue Properties. Equipped with 15 years, back-to-back years as a top-producing broker, Britt capitalizes on her experience, her rolodex, and her strong negotiation skills to help clients achieve their real estate objectives. Focused on West Bellevue and Greater Seattle area, Britt provides a luxury real estate experience at all price points. Britt provides complementary staging, professional organization, help and home prep project management that helps her clients get their home ready seamlessly and easily. Britt's passion is maximizing our clients' real estate investments and making each and every real estate journey a positive one.
So, Britt, we started hearing about the market slowing down a bit. What do you think of that?
Well, what we've seen over the last 3 years has been an absolute insane market. And it's really just continued to go and go and go. And I think everybody has been kind of on that precipice of, hey, are we going to slow down? Is this going to stop and maybe go backwards? Well, what we've seen since November and December is the all-time low, and then suddenly we have an inventory flurry. Whereas in December, we had 921 new listings. If you look now in June, the stats are over 4,300 new listings. So that's 4 times the number of new listings.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
So with the same amount of buyer pool, it does feel like there's a little bit of a slowing, but it's also because there's a lot more inventory.
Yeah, so kind of good news because it's just been crazy with that, the lack of inventory that we've had. So when your sellers are coming to you, Britt, right now and asking, is this a good time to sell and to list their home? What is your answer to that?
Well, it's a complex question.
Of course
and it's always a complex answer depending on what the objective is for the seller.
Uh-huh.
I have been getting a lot of investor business clients that have rentals currently, and they're thinking, oh gosh, maybe this is a good time to offload them. Well, that's a different answer than I would give someone who is actually looking to move into another home in a different neighborhood.
Okay.
So generally, I would say it is a good time to sell, but if there's any time that it's going to require great preparation, great marketing, and absolutely perfect pricing. We've seen people that are looking at the houses 3 doors down that sold for $100,000 over list. Well, without that extreme competition, we may not get that kind of price at this point with the flood of inventory. So it's looking at every situation very differently.
That makes a lot of sense. So what kind of advice would you give sellers, speaking of sellers?
Well, it's definitely get your house prepped. Your house really needs to stack up against the competition because how buyers are looking, they're looking at everything with their criteria set within a certain neighborhood. So if your house shines amongst all the rest of them, you're going to be the one that gets that offer rather than, before when there was such little selection, people couldn't be picky. Now they have the opportunity to be a little more picky. So definitely house prep. And again, I'm going to rail on pricing.
Yeah.
Get that price right the first time.
And that's why it's so important to work with the best. And that's what the show is all about, is bringing the best of the best in studio right here so that our listeners have access to experience and people that know how to navigate through all markets, because there's always a different market, as we were talking about before we came into studio here. So how important, so it's a good time to list depending on what your strategy is. And really it's a one-on-one situation, as Britt's explaining. You really need to have that consultation and planning session to find out what your goals are and what you're trying to accomplish. But Britt, overall, spring, summer, winter, is it important in what time of the year that you're listing?
I love this question. I probably get this a couple times a month. And, if you look at the historical data, spring is always the best time to sell. That's when the inventory has been lower during the holiday season, and people have been waiting and waiting for new inventory to pop. So generally, spring is the time to sell. But over the last 3 years, with this real estate market being so different and so competitive, it really hasn't had a chance to slow down.
Yeah.
And so, whereas in years prior, I would have recommended a spring market time, now it can be any time throughout the year. If you would have sold in December, which is historically the worst time to sell, you would have made out like a bandit because there was no inventory.
Yeah.
So right now, it's still a good time to sell, but again, I'm going to just sound like a broken record. It's priced your property right, and you will get a great sale. People are still very, very hungry for inventory.
And interesting, regardless of what market that we've been in, because we've all been in the industry for, many years, that it is always about price. It doesn't matter if you're in a seller's market, a buyer's market, whether there's lack of inventory, you have tons of inventory. It's always about pricing home. And would you agree, Britt, that that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that a seller can make is not having that perfect price?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's nothing. When I'm looking at my sellers' faces after one week on the market and they haven't received an offer yet, after they've read the media, heard that their neighbors are getting multiple offers, and there's so many things are coming off the market in days. If I'm working with a seller that has decided, here's our price range, and we're going to go to the top of the price range, and there's no offers, that's not a very good conversation to be having.
Yeah.
So definitely listen to the price conversation and really come up with a strategy. Think about your risk tolerance level. Think about what your expectation is for receiving offers, and it's. Over the last 3 years, you can't underprice a property, really.
Great advice.
If it's priced, if it's presented properly, if it's marketed properly, you will get the buyers in, and there will be potentially a multiple offer situation. But even still, pricing the property at the lowest that you would feel comfortable walking away with is the advice that I've been giving my clients.
Love it.
That's a smart move. Well, considering all this craziness in the market and inventory finally coming back on board, when clients ask you if we reach the end of huge appreciation percentages, what do you tell them?
It could be. We've just been seeing outrageous numbers for many years. I've been doing this for 15 years, almost 16, and I saw this back in 06, 07, and I think amongst the industry and people that have been in the business for a while, we've kind of been holding our breath for when this appreciation will start, tapering off. My prediction is that we're not going to see a bunch of backward mobility, but definitely seeing things just petering out and
a little more calm, not so crazy.
Not so crazy. And it's going to provide opportunity for buyers, but it's also going to have people be purchasing homes for livability, not for investment as much.
Yeah, which is great news.
Yeah.
So you kind of mentioned buyers. Let's go ahead and talk about buyers and move from sellers. So what does this market mean for buyers, Britt?
Okay, this is such an exciting time for buyers. I have
finally.
I know it's gosh, I know that I might sound really picky, but over the years I've tried to manage my time and be the best broker I can for all my clients. And what that's meant is working with buyers it's been so challenging. And now I'm excited that I get to go work with people that are wanting to move into this home that they're going to create a lifestyle in. And it's very exciting because the likelihood of them being able to land a home that they really, really love at a price that makes sense is very exciting. So for buyers, it's the world is becoming their oyster, and it's very exciting for them.
That is exciting. So what about for investors? Is it safe for an investor to be buying real estate right now?
I think so. Absolutely. Real estate as a investment long term has always been a very safe place to put your money.
The safest,
Yeah,
historically looking at all investments opportunities, right?
Yeah, well, thank you. I thought that, but I wasn't entirely sure. But yeah, real estate has been such a great place to put your money. It's an actual physical location. Rents are continuing to rise. So, I mean, you can definitely feel assured that your money will be in a good spot with investment real estate too.
Yeah, yeah. And disclosure on what I said. I mean, obviously there's risk in real estate, but the risk in real estate is you're forced to sell in a bad market. If you look at the historical trends of real estate, you won't lose as long as you're not forced to sell. And, so obviously property values go up and down, but the key is to make sure you're strategic and you're not put in a situation to where you're forced to. Because look at everybody that bought at the top of the market before the crash. Well, as long as they didn't sell, they're sitting really pretty right now. So
yeah, they are.
That's the way the real estate market always works. So, Britt, since I brought it up in Money Chat talking about the head tax, has the Seattle City Council vote to abolish the head tax started making an impact in real estate, or overall these last few weeks of what's going on? How's that been affecting real estate?
Oh, I would definitely say it's had an effect. I think in terms of the buyer and seller apprehension of what's going to happen. I and I love it. I live on the east side, and I love that the east side has started to promote all the businesses to come to the east side because we don't have a head tax. Well, of course, that's no longer in play, but I did like the banter between cities that was going on. But in terms of how it affected my sellers, well, I don't know that there was as many buyers really forging through in that kind of week or 2 weeks after that announcement had hit. So I do think now that the announcement has been, or the repeal has happened, I think that buyers will have a stronger sense of feeling comfortable moving forward on house purchases.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of extreme banter as soon as that came out. I remember hearing it everywhere on, turn the lights out on your way out type stuff, like when Boeing left. So that's got to be challenging for buyers. So with the buyers dealing with these issues concerning like head tax and just apprehension in general, how are you overcoming some of these objections?
Oh, gosh. So I don't look at myself as a salesperson, and I only bring information to people and they can decide for themselves what they want to do. I personally just bought. I think it's a great time to be purchasing. But, my position is let the clients decide.
Yeah, great advice. I mean, and that's really, what it's all about is experts really helping coach and counsel clients where, to where they want to go and what they might want to accomplish and whether it's right for them or not. Britt, thank you so much for joining Keelan and I in studio. It was a pleasure to chat with you.
Well, that was great. Thank you so much for having me.
Coming up next on The Money are 8 ways a great real estate agent can change your life. Brenda Martin with John L. Scott right here on 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.